Thank you so much, Grace. Hi, everyone. I'm so honored and blessed to be able to interview my own cousin today. Her name is Steffina Yuli. She is the Chief Business Officer at Gipin. Gipin is a disruptive ed tech solution that helps millions of teachers, students, and schools nationwide to access quality education, even when there is no internet. Steffina was also recently awarded Forbes Under 30 Asia, a Yale University graduate, and formerly from Boston Consulting Group, BCG, as well as Tokopedia. Today we'll hear a lot about transitions from corporate world to impact work and personal challenges that she's faced having gone into work and just personal principles that have guided her through the season for life. So without further ado, Steffi, please come up. Yes, closer. Get the mic. Just a few mics here. Okay. Do you have a working mic, Steph? No, not yet. Okay. If not, I'll just pass it. If maybe Reina can help me with one. There's a few here.
Test. Hello.
All
I
right.
hope everyone's still awake. Yes?
I think so. So Steffi
Okay,
is actually a very chill person, so we want to keep this very relaxed.
I'm
and
a very
chill.
chill person.
Yes. I'm very honored actually to be able to do this with my own cousin. And it's actually the whole family. This is a daughter-father duo work for Kipen actually. So one day we'd love to have Uncle Sam one day up on stage as well. But today we'll be hearing more from Steffi. So Steffi, can you just share about what Kipen is and the role that you play in this organization?
Yes. Okay. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Steffina Yuli. I am the Chief Business Officer of Gipin. I have a formal way to explain what Gipin does, but I'll just do the engaging way. So raise your right hand if you've ever had internet issues in Jakarta. Oh, yeah, okay, so a lot. Raise your left hand if you've ever had internet issues outside of Jakarta. There should be more of you if you've assumed, okay. The rest of you probably have never been outside of Jakarta then because internet issues out there are even worse, right? So probably next slide, just gonna help with a little few pictures. Imagine instead that you're 10 years old and you're outside of Jakarta and your mom is waking you up at 5 a.m. and you're gonna walk 5 kilometers to school and you're supposed to have very, very, very poor internet and you're supposed to learn digitally, right? That's the reality of over, I think, 30 million students in Indonesia today. And so that's kind of the problem that we're trying to fix with Gipin. So essentially what we do is we've created a device, which I brought here because it's hard to imagine otherwise. Looks kind of like this. But essentially what this does is you put it in a classroom and students can immediately access all of the digital curriculum materials that they need completely without internet. So videos, books, quizzes, comics, because otherwise the reality is a lot of them are studying, by the side of the road in order to get internet. Yeah, that's sort of what we do.
Can you share a bit about the role that you play? What does day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, so as Chief Business Officer, basically in charge of a lot of business development, essentially. What that means is anything and everything. But many hats, but essentially in charge of a lot of partnerships, collaborations, so working with a lot of businesses to see how they can actually help reach these goals as well with our solutions. Yeah.
Actually, if I saw these photos yesterday from Steffi, and I was just quite baffled that for these students, they have to literally, find a little spot in the island they live in to find internet access, and that's how they literally submit homework and do schools. And what I've learned also from Steffi is that there's so much eagerness from these students to actually learn. They want to grow in their knowledge, and they don't take this for granted. This is how serious they are to get education, and KPN does the very solution to provide access for them to do that in their schools. It's really amazing what you've done, Steffi and Uncle Sam. I wanted to ask about your journey and career, Steffi, because I know that you were in BCG and then Tokopedia. Can you share that journey of your career and what led you to the work that you're doing now? Why the shift, basically?
Yeah. So a little bit of background first. Essentially, I was in consulting first. I was in BCG. I was focused on digital strategy and execution. Moved to Tokopedia for a few years as well, which is, of course, the largest e-commerce in Indonesia. Focused on category, did like sales, data, product, all of the stuff there. But I think the main sort of thing was those were pretty. I think my journey is a little bit backwards. Some people go from the most uncertain to the most certain, the least paying to the highest paying, and I kind of went the opposite direction, right? But I think, Steve Jobs has that famous Stanford thing where he's like connecting the dots, right? I think some of you might have heard that, where you look back and you say, oh, it all made sense. And I really wish I could have said, I planned this all from the day I graduated. I'm like, of course, this was the way that it was. But in reality, to be really honest, the reality was it was a lot of prayerful points, I think. It wasn't always easy or clear, I think, to decide, like, from when I graduated to get to like where I am today. I can give you an example. So for example, moving from like Tokopedia to Kipin. So when I was in Tokopedia, the situation was, it was the pandemic. I was at a point where essentially I was about to get this really big promotion. So like, yay, right? Like finally, like what I had been working for. And the idea is like with a promotion, right? This is the culmination of your previous work, right? But the thing is with like a big company, essentially what happens is your bosses have to fight for you and there's limited slots for a promotion, right? So if you get the promotion, you also have to commit to staying there, right? So I was like in this place where I was like, dang, I really want this promotion. But also, I don't know, I was also at a point where I had a conversation with my dad and he was asking me like, hey, like, don't just do, but also be thinking about like, what do you want for your life? What does God want for your life? It's not just about climbing corporate ladders, but it's also about like, what does it mean to live a life where you prioritize? What does it mean to live a balanced life? Like, what are your priorities right now? And at the time, I really did have a heart. Like, I knew that I wanted to be in social impact one day. But it would mean a lot of sacrifice. And it would mean, for example, in the immediate future, sacrificing this promotion. And so it was with a lot of prayers and a lot of asking for a lot of advice, honestly, from like mentors, friends, family, that eventually it became clear. But honestly speaking, even until that point, it was like you have to jump a little bit, I think. Like jump with, faith. And it became clear, I think. Yeah.
I did not know that part of the story.
Yeah.
I can imagine how tempting it would be because like you said, you've worked so hard for that.
Yeah.
And perhaps there's even a sense of guilt letting your boss at that point who's vouching for you.
Yeah. Big team.
Yeah. But I think you listened to the voice of the Father and here you are. I mean, you've made amazing impact during your very short time in Kipin, from my understanding. So God is faithful when you are faithful to obeying. So I think it's about, sometimes it's better to be obedient rather than pleasing all the people left and right that you needed to please, right?
Yeah.
Well, this year, even through the work of Kipin, you've been awarded and listed as Forbes 30 under 30. So congratulations on that, Steffi.
Thank you so much.
Many see that to be like the pinnacle of success for people under 30 years old. But I do want to ask a bit about what's behind that label, because I think often people don't see the hard paddling under the water that comes with that. And so can you share just some real fighting that you've had to do, the struggles that really you faced thus far in this role? And perhaps, how have you seen God present in this whole journey so far?
Yeah, big questions. I think in terms of challenges, I think anyone who has run a business, and I can see some familiar faces, like there are many challenges, right? So anything from something like, I think just now, like Jess was talking about managing people, that is super challenging, like internally. Anybody who's ever had to fundraise, ooh, your ego takes the biggest hit, right? If you've ever grown up like having like success academically or anything, you think like, oh, people are gonna like me. No, not when it comes to investors. Like so many no's, so many like closed doors, right? It's always, it is a challenge, right? And you question a lot about whether like, am I doing the right thing? Moving from corporate to entrepreneurship also, I got this acute sense of there is no safety net now. Like you gotta, my mistakes are, that's it. It ends with me. And I think not only that, because we're in social impact, I think you're in healthcare, so you understand this too. Besides the pain of the work, there's also the pain of the problem. So meaning like sometimes besides the frustrations of work, it's like on top of that, there's the burden of there's so much need still, and there's a lot of bureaucracy, and there's a lot of like, oh, I'm, as much work as I'm gonna do, like, is it really gonna make a difference? Like, there's millions of students, like, how am I going to really change this systemic problem? I think that is very emotionally challenging. But I also feel like, despite that, God is a God of excellence. This is what we were talking about yesterday. And I love that, we're talking about wisdom-based leadership. And we're talking, I think quite a few people talked about excellence today, right? And what I love about having a God of excellence is that excellence sometimes is very unsexy. Like, excellence is a lot about, like, fruits of the spirit, right? Like, if you get rejected by investors, I feel like a lot of what's great is like being a Christian is about having your security in God and not like the approval of man or investors, like being a Christian or like being excellent maybe is about self-control. Self-control is a fruit of the spirit, and it's about like, yeah, I'm not trying to promote the hustle culture just now that you guys were saying. Like, I totally agree. Rest is important, but also, doing the work, right? Being disciplined, like that is something that being a Christian like teaches you to do, So a lot of the fruits of the spirit, I feel like encourages you to achieve excellence. And I think, maybe next slide. I think what is also encouraging is even though we're in impact, despite the initial challenges, over the past couple of years, God comes in like when it rains, it pours, right? So I feel like the awards came in like, and this is not to say that we're great, but this is like God's work, because God is a God of excellence, and when we do the work, He really, really, really delivered and allowed us to achieve like so many global awards that, honestly speaking, sometimes I'm just like, wow, I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, thank you for sharing that, Steph, because I know that you share this device, this white device here, but it's gone through quite a bit of iterations, and I think it really sheds light into the spirit of excellence that you keep innovating, reinventing, and even when concept fails, you did not stop there, or your family did not stop there, but you just kept at it because you knew that was the calling God had for you and your family to do this work. So thank you for doing that. A little bit of just on the side, what have been some core lessons that you feel like God has been teaching you, has been or still are in this season of life, Steffi?
Yeah, I think like related to, I guess, that excellence in the career journey, there's a Bible verse which I hold on to a lot. It's in Exodus. It just says, "See, I have sent this angel before you to prepare the path to the place that I have prepared." And I really like that because someone sent it to me during a really tough time in my life, but it's just really stuck with me, and it's so comforting to me. And essentially, I think what that reminds me of is that, like, being a business leader sometimes can be very lonely. I think maybe a lot of people in this room can relate to that. You make a lot of decisions, especially if you're a Christian in a Muslim country, not easy. Sometimes you have convictions, sometimes you make unpopular, decisions. But what's great is that I think being a Christian is not about is never an individual journey. Like God calls us to be, God says that we're a body of Christ, right? And like each individual part is supposed to function in its own way, in an excellent way, an excellent hand or an excellent eye, whatever. And I love that because now when I look back, like I feel like throughout this journey, I have had so many brothers and sisters and family, cousins, who have encouraged me throughout this journey to achieve that excellence, to make those brave decisions that God has prepared for us. So I guess like sort of the lesson is sort of that God has prepared the way for us to be excellent if we are kind of brave enough to go for it. Yeah.
I like that. I think that very much related to just even the life verse for me about how God could do immeasurably more than we can ever ask or imagine in and through us. And only if we allow ourselves and we let go of the things that we hold on to, right? And even things that we think are the best for us are not actually the best for us. But when we let go and we let God take the reins, and I think that's what I'm hearing in your life, that's when we really see God using us to create that excellence in wherever we go to. Is there any words of encouragement or just even questions that you want to leave the audience with in light of what you shared today, Steph?
Yeah. Actually hold on. I did have questions. Ooh, I think I have them. Can you do next slide? I do want to share this last thing. And I think just these two pictures here, like if we can, I learn a lot from, I think the students that we work with. A lot of these students, like maybe in Jakarta and stuff, a lot of the students we think of are like distracted by Mobile Legends. But out there in, outside of Jakarta, that's not the students that we see there. A lot of them are very, very, very eager to learn. A lot of them, like you see the picture on the right, that is students climbing across a broken bridge to get to school. That was a picture that was like viral on the internet because obviously that is not how students should be having to get to school. But there is a lot of eagerness to learn. There is a lot of eagerness to be excellent. There is a lot of willpower to be, unstoppable. And I think that is something that we can all learn from in our walk as well. So I think my question to kind of maybe leave with the group is just what does God's path of excellence look like for all of us if we are brave enough to accept it? And who are the people or the angels, I guess, is if the Exodus Bible verse applies to you, that can help guard you along the way. Maybe they are in the room with you today, or maybe you might meet some of them here. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Steffi. I think what you shared on the last part is actually that the journey of the calling of God is never to be done alone, but really in a sense of community.
Yeah.
And I know you've been surrounded by amazing family who supported you in your spiritual walk, but you've also been very grounded in your church community, serving very actively, as I know, and that even being a part of Resource Global has added that community of supporters into your life. So please do chat with Steffi, Uncle Sam, and Aunt Sally right there if you want to know more about Kippen. Their work is so important because as I'm in healthcare and we're reaching the remote islands of Indonesia that don't have the infrastructure to access that, you can't change a community without the education sector. And what they're doing through Kippen is really making revolutionary changes, providing literally education to people who don't have access to internet, and that's actually a lot of people here in Indonesia. So please keep them in their prayers. They have big dreams. as I've heard yesterday, really amazing dreams. So do keep them in your prayer, get to know about the work. And if there's any companies, right, Steffi, that would love to get to know more of how you can collaborate and work together with Kippen, please do reach out. It's an amazing technology that's changing lives. And it's reached how many people, Steph, now?
Over 500,000. Yeah.
500,000. And can you share a bit about the statistics and how much more there's to do about that?
Oh, there's a lot. Indonesia has 50 million students, though, so that's like 1%. We have a lot of work to do. Yeah, but exciting things to do.
Yeah. Well, I know we wanted to do questions, but time is very limited. So can we give a round of applause to Steffi? Thank you so much.